Today, I want to talk about something that viewers seem interested in learning about, which is, can narcissists change? I find this topic really fascinating because myself, I picked up some narcissistic habits in my youth dealing with narcissistic individuals. And it's easy to think that you might yourself be a narcissist if you pick up behaviors of narcissists, which can be, not showing empathy or emotions, things like that. There is a beautiful video that I watched by Dr. Romney called 10 Things Narcissists Can Do to Change, and I would recommend that you watch that because she really did cover all the bases. I just want to share my own personal experience with this, and having dealt with narcissists in my life who either wanted to change or didn't, and working with narcissists who have changed. So I have worked with a couple people who have changed their behavior based on the information that I've given them about narcissists. I didn't directly call them out as narcissists. I just, said these are some of the behaviors I've seen, and they've changed their behavior with me. And they may not be narcissists. They may have also picked them up as a child as coping mechanisms because there's a long line of history of trauma with people that I've been around in my life. And so intergenerational trauma can cause you to behave like a narcissist. You can be afraid of sharing things with people. You can be afraid of showing your feelings because you've been hurt and you've been taught not to, and nobody showed you a clear map of how to do that. They don't show their feelings with you. So I really am not going to go over everything that Dr. Romani covered, but the first thing I do want to say to you is to reiterate that nobody can change a narcissist. They have to change themselves. But I do believe that they can change based on research that I've done. One particular paper that I read was a PhD level paper on splitting in violent personalities that talks about violent abusers and how they can split into two different personalities and not remember what they did. Victims can do this as well. This article made me consider a situation that I was in and that I might be splitting, and I started to take notes about what was happening so that I could integrate the two personalities, one that covered for the behavior and one that was completely oblivious to behavior and was upholding the patriarchy and, this is status quo and didn't want to rile up anybody or hurt anybody and wanted to people please. So I would say if you want to people please, you're probably not a narcissist. And if you're looking at this, you're probably not a narcissist because empathy is not something that narcissists show that they have. And it's been shown by research that at an early age, they just learned coping mechanisms of manipulating people and moving them around to fit their needs. And so narcissists aren't bad people. I know many narcissists, I love them all, and the reason that I don't work with them is because of toxic behavior that affects me. And as an empath, a light worker, if you believe in that, somebody who really cares about reciprocity and my feelings being shown and my experience being represented and validated by the person that I'm with or hanging out with, I just lost my thought. I got too excited there. I need a certain level of human camaraderie and continuity. And as far as my experience in life, I've been extremely loyal to people and I've been in the same place my whole life. And I've come from 4 generations that have lived in San Francisco and around this area. So my experience is particular also to this geography. I have dealt with many, many narcissists in the music industry. I've dealt with many narcissists in the literary world, and generally they're just not people that anybody likes to be around because they tend to be very selfish, and you can watch my video called It's Not About You, that's about not taking it personally. Don't take anything that they do personally, because that's what's going to make you really tied in with them. When you hate something, you're attracting it to you to copy some wisdom from the Tao and making it more an issue in your life. What you think about the most is going to be what you attract. And I've learned this the hard way. When I think about things that make me unhappy and I think about my past or I think about things that have gone wrong, those things come back circling around because I'm thinking about them the most. Thoughts have energy. Einstein knew this, and that energy attracts like energy. And so what you want to do is change that energy to positive thoughts, positive people, things that uplift you and improve your life. You don't need to be called out, torn down, derided. If you're dealing with a narcissist, they are definitely going to do this, and they do it so subtly that it really messes with your psychology. If you become very close to one, and you might think you're different, I definitely thought I was different, that I could change them, that I was that special, I had that much of an ego. Fortunately, it was smattered to smithereens recently, and I learned that I'm not the shit. I'm not even that important. I'm just a human being trying to make my way in the world as an artist and a educator who talks about narcissism specifically, because that seems to be a topic that I'm very well read on. I've read many books, I've experienced it personally, I've even dealt with changing these behaviors myself, which is why I liked Dr. Ramani's video so much. Many people in my life thought that I was a narcissist for many, many years because I had a condition and still have it called post-traumatic stress disorder. Some people are trying to reframe it as post-traumatic stress response, but with this disorder came a ruminating of thoughts and just talking in circles and not being able to take any extra information in. So be very careful when you're diagnosing somebody from your pocket diagnosis that you're not just misplacing trauma as narcissism, because a lot of people that are victims of trauma can't process information. And you can't take that personally. They will not be able to process your information until they work on the trauma. And I had to do this myself. I had to work on my trauma with Melanie Tonia Evans, she has a great program out. I think it's around $100 that you can do some creative visualizations to work on your trauma. And it actually works. It's brilliant. Nothing was working for me. I remember being completely crippled and just laying in bed. All I could do was get myself to an Airbnb by Mount Tamalpais, which is a beautiful mountain that called me to it. My grandma used to take me there as a kid. We'd go to Rodeo Beach, and it was just very soothing to me, as was the geography of Marin, which is by the beach. And I just ended up in that room for a couple days listening to her. I had nowhere to go, nothing to do, and something led me to her. I'd watched one of her videos, I'd seen the light in her eyes, and I realized I wanted to be that person. I wanted to be the person that was spreading light, educating about how to improve an issue, and bringing joy to the world. And she was a great template for that because she does great work with something that is very hard to define. It's very hard to get over, and it's very hard. Sorry, that was a phone call from a friend of mine, and I should have turned my phone off for this video, but I'm not gonna. I'm just glad that go. I'll call him back later, and he'll probably see this and be like, "Bitch," to quote Too Short. But yeah. So, anyways, narcissists are not going to change because you want them to change. That doesn't seem to be the status quo. And of course, statistics can always change. People are malleable. Neuroscience is showing that the brain can change. People can learn how to redo things after a stroke. So how come they couldn't learn how to not be a narcissist? I think a lot of narcissists end up learning to go through the motions. One in particular that I know told me that they have learned to just do certain behaviors that increase the likelihood of them being accepted by other people because they've realized their behavior is not working. And so that's the aim of this video and videos like Dr. Ramani's, is this encouraging push for narcissists to change their behavior. Watch her video. It's very hard work. I've worked on all 10 of her suggestions. One of them, which is having a therapist. One is looking at family of origin issues. One of them is really listening to people and repeating back what they say and knowing that their reality cannot be changed. You cannot change their reality. And that is the biggest thing, I think, for narcissists, is that they are really good at trying to invalidate your reality. They want you to say, that didn't happen, that was just in your mind, you're crazy. And this is something that violent people do and abusers do as well. It's a typical move for brainwashing, communist brainwashing, which I'm also trained in because I went to a program when I was a teenager and read a book by Margaret Sanger on how to unprogram my mind after being communist brainwashed in Jamaica. And so I may talk about that here too, but I think that makes me particularly equipped to speak with you about deprogramming your mind, reprogramming your psychology, which I've done. I've reprogrammed my psychology to listen to other people, to be giving instead of taking, and to really enjoy it, to look forward to what I give back. I consider every poem, every video, every comment that I give is giving back what's been given to me, and so much has been given to me by this universe. I can't even. I was listing so much last night. One thing on Dr. Ramani's list is to make a gratitude list for narcissists. They don't tend to be appreciative. One thing that all narcissists could do better is to appreciate things, and this would get them more in return. And this is what I'm going to say to narcissists watching this. It will get you more in return if you... The book by... my grandfather gave me a book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, and he kept reminding me to read it. It's the one by Dale Carnegie, and I had to listen to it in Jamaica, when I was in that program, but I've been reading it again lately. And one thing you do with people is always bring out something that they like. People want to be great. They want to be known. They want to be recognized. And so if you mention something that they do that is good before you offer a criticism, it really will buffer that criticism so that they don't feel like you're always calling out the bad shit. And maybe they won't call you a narcissist. Maybe they will learn how to take your criticism with love if it's actually genuine and it's for their improvement. One thing narcissists don't tend to to know really well is what will help another person, because they tend to give advice that will help themselves because they've learned this. And if they could just flip this around, it's a very difficult thing to do, to flip that mirror from you back to somebody else, because you're afraid you're not going to get validated. You know, you're afraid that people won't listen to you, you're afraid you're gonna get run over. I feel like many empaths take on a narcissistic cluster of behaviors to protect themselves from this world, because as a child they were too giving and people took too much from them. And I think this was my problem. And so I want to say that there's so much more I want to say about this. I might make a video number 2, but I think this is long enough for now. I think that's enough for you to really get started on thinking about whether or not the narcissist in your life can change, knowing that you can't change this narcissist. You need to back off and let them change for themselves. They need a therapist of their own. But this PhD level paper that I read that I mentioned earlier did say that narcissists can change. I actually mixed up 2 papers. One was about splitting and one was about narcissists changing. So there's another paper I read that talked about narcissists changing, and this goes hand in hand with integrating those 2 personalities. If they find one person they can trust and they continue that relationship for a long time, they don't just tear them down. I used to have this problem with therapists where I would always find a fault and then fire them. I think I've been through 10 in my life, maybe more, and I just really didn't like them criticizing my family. Like, they would tell me not to hang out with my parents, you know, stuff like that, and I was like, I don't want to listen to you, you know? This is not what I'm paying you for. And so I would fire them. And if they got too close, I would fire them. If I was too intimate with them, I would fire them, because I was afraid that something terrible would happen based on my experience. And so I'm assuming that a lot of narcissists are just troubled children in disguise. But you know, with the disorder itself, if they do have the cluster B personality, it is documented that they cannot change. So don't even offer that. Don't even bring that into your life. Don't even, I mean, think about it, visualize it, but don't do it. Let them change on their own. Remove yourself from them. Don't let yourself be the target of their abuse. Let them figure it out on their own. They'll either find somebody else to abuse, or they'll miss you and they'll try to change their behavior to get you back. Anyways, peace out to you. I really hope this is beneficial to you. Like and subscribe below if you like what I'm saying. I'll be putting out a lot more videos about narcissism as we go. My aim was 1 a day, but I'm averaging about 3 to 5 weeks. So if you're subscribed, expect that, and nothing else for now. All the other topics that I talked about, I'm going to put on hold for now and just focus on this one, because it seems to be a really big need and it's something that I can help you with. So take that advice, watch that video. I advise everybody to watch it because it's actually a great advice for any human being. And I shared it on my Twitter account, which is Kirsten Bean, Kyrsten. B as in boy, E-A-N as in Nancy. I share some articles on there once in a while that I find interesting, you know, about self-love or self-care or anything. Sometimes angel numbers, just random stuff. So anyways, peace out. Stay safe and keep yourself safe. Don't offer yourself to people. Don't cast your pearls before swine if they're gonna run over you. And if they've proven this again and again, look at their actions over time. Actions over time, not words. Because the words are what are gonna get you. Don't fall for it.